Beautiful friends, beautiful souls, today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. So many predictions once again flowing into fruition over the past week. Like one wave hitting the shores after another. It's been pretty wild, really wild. And it's going to get crazy and interesting. And that's an understatement, friends. Well, it's time once again to vibe with your tribe and feed your prediction addiction as we look at this week's events and how they aligned or maybe not aligned with past predictions and prophecy, along with new predictions, of course, each and every week. Just last week, actually, we warned our friends in Texas. I even had visions and mentioned seeing windows being blown out and such, and I mentioned Houston. And if you remember in the past, Spirit has told us multiple times that Texas was one of the targeted areas. Targeted by who exactly? Well, I'll explain that today on today's show. You may recall, again, those visions of me seeing windows being blown out on high-rise buildings and a feeling that it was Houston. Maybe Dallas, but I was definitely pulled more towards Houston. And that's exactly what just happened over the past week. I felt in my vision like it was a vision of, I didn't see a tornado, but the damage looked like tornado damage. And that's exactly what the damage is looking like. Sadly, the whole state of Texas practically, which again, Spirit also warned as a targeted state, has been continuously nailed with one severe storm after another, along with the borders being bombarded and all kinds of other crazy stuff. So, even if you don't believe Texas is targeted, it's sure hard not to believe that it is with everything that's going on in the state of Texas. And remember my visions of a star falling off the flag. We're still waiting to see how that comes into fruition in the future as well. So besides that, these high-rise buildings and all the footage of what happened in Texas is absolutely alarming and astounding. I also warned Louisiana, but so far they've been pretty good and pretty lucked out. Not that they didn't get hit with weather, but not in the way that I saw. So could they actually be the ones that are going to get hit next? Remember, Florida is also a targeted area. Parts of Australia, yeah, there's target areas all over the world, of course. Remember my visions of seeing a city go in the dark? I saw a whole little city go in the dark. And I talked extensively about coming power outages in Houston, Texas, of course, went into the dark. The city went into the dark with over 1 million customers without power during these storms. I still feel, though, that there's sabotage around power grids, and Spirit warns of a sinister plan to purposely begin rolling out our power and adding severe limitations to our usage. I'm going to tell you about that today, and I'm going to show you a letter that I received right here from my electric company that I found to be extremely concerning, to say the least, but also helps me to confirm my feelings and predictions and messages from Spirit that they're targeting power grids, they being the global psychopaths, forcing us to use less just because they can, not because we have to. We know that's all just a big old lie, friends, a big old lie. We covered many times, and Spirit confirmed this as well over and over again, that someone, perhaps again the global psychopaths, are manipulating our systems and the weather systems that we see rolling in. Everything from, the lines of smoke that are up above in our skies to things being caught on radar. Remember, we caught some things on radar that were very alarming. Actually, another channel did that I shared with you several times. Besides the anomaly coming up out of the Antarctic into the coast of Africa, into the Atlantic Ocean. We also saw lasers manipulating things, appearing to manipulate things. Last week, I think I showed you that. So we know that something's going on, friends. We know it. And we see it in our skies over and over and over again. And I found some other really alarming information when I went down that rabbit hole once again. Yesterday and this morning, actually. And I found more clear proof that that's exactly what's happening. And what exactly, you ask? Well, I'll describe all that to you today. I found some government documents from, of course, United States, obviously, but also the country Wales, and even a document from the European Parliament on health concerns around what's going on above us. Interesting information you're going to want to know about. Really interesting. And I'll show you one of the alleged planes. You might have saw it on social media. It's kind of going viral. And I told you we would get footage of this. I just thought of that, actually. Spirit just nudged me. I told you we would get footage of these planes so that they can deny it, but they can't deny it anymore. And I also predicted that there'd be a crash of one of those planes, which would also bring alarm and truth to what's actually happening. We haven't seen that yet. But I have no doubt that's in the near future because, again, someone just revealed and showed you how the plane works on social media. I'm going to share that little clip with you. But not only that, what the gas tank says. There's a tank that says this is for such and such, and it even names off the chemical compound, which I went and went down that rabbit hole for y'all as well. So it's really interesting, and I will show you all this, the alleged plane use. And it's all going to make a lot more sense when you see and hear it. This also gives us more clarity on predictions and on the plans of the global psychopaths. Way back, no, not way back, wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it. In January, my 2024 world predictions, Spirit warned and continued to do so that we would see repetitively throughout 2024 the fall of global leaders, the elite, and many, many assassination attempts and people successfully being taken out. Said it over and over. Just said it not that long ago in the beginning of this month, and look what happened to the Slovakian prime minister, who luckily survived. You know, they compare him to Donald Trump. Makes you think. They compare a lot of these ones that recently had attempts or even were taken out and compare them to that particular person. Wonder why that is, and wonder why they're the ones that are being targeted. We can all just sit back and wonder about that now, can't we? Now, which also we're seeing, if we rewind back to 2023 predictions, Spirit told us that there was going to be a double change in power for Iran. You might not remember, again, it was just over a year, and some predictions take a year or two to fall into place, sometimes 3 years. 2017, I saw the masks on people and talked about an outbreak, and that happened 3 years later. So this was at least a year ago or over a year ago that I said that, Spirit said that we would see a double change of power in Iran. And the one who replaces them is actually going to be the worst one of all, wishing to seek revenge. Also, in recent predictions, I saw someone important. You'll recall, many of you commented on last week's video just over the past few days, because I did state that I saw several helicopter crashes, but one helicopter crash with somebody important on it. Now, I actually thought it would be related to Hollywood, so I was wrong on that aspect. But at the same time, someone important definitely crashed in a helicopter. Now, at the same time, you know about the president of Iran and his colleague and 8 people in all that were on that helicopter that crashed. And now they're all unalived. He's second in power. So is their leader next? Is the Ayatollah the next one? And what really did happen? Because, Iran tells us it was technical difficulties. First, we were told it was the fog and the weather. That's shady right there in itself. And you would think, Iran would be first to want to blame somebody else for it, but they're not. They're blaming on technical difficulties. Things that make you go, I'm going to tell you what really happened today and who's actually responsible, and you're going to be quite surprised by my answer. It also it was back in late 2022, perhaps early 2023, that I had a vision and made predictions where I saw basically the United Nations taking over. I saw visions of the United Nations going into a country like a military takeover. Now, I did say at one point Africa, and we did see some of that play out, but not the way I saw in my visions. Now, what would you say if I actually believe that this is definitely happening behind the dark web and closed doors of that dark web, and it's likely multiple countries that they're planning on doing this with? One of those being, of course, United States. United States and several of their allies throughout Europe. And we all know and we all feel that something really big is planned and being initiated. Even though we might not see it visually, we all feel it energetically. And it's been going on for several years now. Since 2020, really. This decade. They have a mission in this decade. And I got some alarming stuff related to all that today. We all talked about water. We talked about water time and time again. Water is life, of course. I remember doing videos on the Standing Rock fight for the waters and Standing Rock Reservation back in the day. Actually, that's my video that has the most amount of views. Around 500,000 views. I'm trying to remember, put that up. It was the first video I ever did an edit to. I thought I did a pretty darn good job, actually, for a first video edit. I'll try to remember and put a link up here so you can check it out. So about the water and seeing so many things predicted about water, one of my predictions not long ago, actually, this year, I said I saw water being tainted. And it reminded me of Flint, Michigan. Now, we did see something like that play out in the United States, but Spirit told us it's still coming. And we're going to see this happening in many places. Well, this is happening now in the United Kingdom. Already on a live to few, apparently. Not only United Kingdom, it's happening in a couple places here in the United States. When I went to go look up United Kingdom, a couple others popped up. I think Idaho's one. Hey ho, I'm from Idaho. I think that's one of them. But I'll share it with you when we get to that point later on. And tell you some warnings and predictions still revolved around waters. Really important stuff. Did you see that creepy new portrait of King Charles? Did you also see the discovery, what somebody discovered painted within that painting when you put them together? If not, don't worry about it. I'll show you today. And I'll give you my take on that very, very creepy portrait. There's a new discovery about the uncomfortable link to nightmares and even daymares. Never heard of a daymare, but I guess that's a nightmare that you have when you're sleeping during the day. Daymare, but both of them. There's a very uncomfortable link to this that I'm going to share with you today. It kind of reminds me, actually just reminded me of, all of a sudden we have this new disease called demon face, where people all of a sudden see demon faces and they're calling it a mental illness or some kind of disorder because it's all of a sudden happened not long after they lit up CERN for how many times they've lit it up. Yeah, kind of interesting, huh? Really interesting. All these new interesting things. So that uncomfortable link to nightmares. Another birth of a rare white buffalo. Could that be a sign? If you know the stories about the white buffalo to the indigenous cultures, will Sean P. Diddy Combs end up in jail? Likely where he should spend some time. A lot of people are asking. Or maybe worse. That's right. Maybe worse. I forgot to look up his birthday. I'll have to take a break in a moment and do that. Some wild pictures I took of the moon last week that you gotta see. And a crazy apparition appearing in the skies of California. Wild. Wait till you see this one. And what happens when you rub two crystals together? I was shocked when I went and did it myself. Don't go and do it. I'll show you first and discuss it first. And also, of course, some new predictions all today on this episode number 118 of Tuesday's prediction update, and y'all know what time it is.
It's tea time, baby.
Beautiful friends, beautiful souls, Satnam, welcome, hola, baby. I hope you're having a great day today. Once again, it's May 21st, Tuesday, 2024, and I am recording this right now it's exactly 1:23 p.m. on the west coast of the United States here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, living right within the vortex itself, the vortex that not many people know about. And then I like to keep it that way, too. It's one of the good ones that gives you high energy. Love it here. Anyway, I welcome you to my channel, back to my channel. My name is Joseph Tittel, a.k.a. Spiritman JT. I welcome you with infinite loving gratitude. Thank you for hanging out with us. We do this each and every Tuesday. 118 episodes. It's a lot. We've been doing this for years. Every Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday if there's a glitch, but every week. We go over top world stories and how they may or may not relate to predictions and prophecy, new predictions every week, and lots of truth and information being revealed as I go down the rabbit holes for y'all because I love y'all so much. Down below in the description, you'll find the link to all my social media, including the Awaken Your Spirit community on Subscribestar, where we hang out on Zoom, and every month I do a group chat readings on there, and check that out. Without my supporters, I would not be able to spend all the time and effort and energy doing this. Whether you are a member of the Subscribestar community, a member of YouTube community, whether you send contributions through in other ways on Rumble, Spotify, so forth. All the links are down below, including my post office box. I thank you all for your letters and all the things that you send to me. I am grateful. Big alert here first. Scammers. So I tell you about this all the time, and people still fall for it because not everybody watches or listens to this. But now the new one is, and it's always Facebook and Instagram every single time. That's why, if you wonder why I barely ever go on there, this is why, friends. I don't bother because of all the scammers. And the reason, it's not just the scammers, it's the fact that Facebook, Instagram, same company, Meta, does absolutely nothing about it, ever. 100 people will report their profiles and they still will let that profile continue. They'll still let them take your pictures, steal your information, and then message people. And this person from Nigeria, claiming to be me on Facebook, is telling people to send in pictures of their palms. And then all these people start sending me pictures of their palms. I'm like, that is not me. First of all, I don't do palm reading. I never cared for palm reading, never use it, and I don't even teach it in my divination course. It's that one form of divination that just never clicked with me. So that's not me, friends. I don't do that. I don't message anybody on social media platforms. I'll continuously say it, report that profile again and again and again until they do something about it. And it even says in the profile the person's in Nigeria. Less than smart. Anyway, I released a video yesterday, The Simpsons Predictions and Prophecy, Past, Present, and Future. If you missed that, please do check it out. And thanks for those who sent in contributions during yesterday's live premiere, because that video definitely took a long time to put together for you all. I mean, lots and lots and lots of endless hours. So again, your support is always appreciated. Now, remember, too, that your future, down below, you'll find the link to the newsletter, too. We put out a newsletter at the beginning of every month with the astrology, numerology, and all the content from the previous month, so you never miss anything. And sometimes in the middle of the month, when I have time and there's something important, I put out another newsletter. It's free. Check it out down below. And also, remember, your future is not a destination, friends. It is a journey that's guided by your own choices that you make. And I can help you navigate the path that's ahead for you with a life reading. Or you can connect with loved ones that are passed. Use the code capital Y, capital T25 to receive $25 off on any private session on my website, Joseph Tittel, Tittel.com, or SpiritmanJT.com. Shall we move on now with episode number 118, y'all, of Tuesday's
Tea time, baby.
We begin today with the assassinations and the great fall of power, as Spirit refers to it as, the great fall of power. Way back in 2024, World Predictions, Spirit warned and continued to do so that we would continuously see assassination attempts on world leaders, and even the fall of many leaders and some of the global elite, which we began seeing. We saw that back in 2023, actually. We saw many members of the elite passing away, many high members of power. We've seen the Queen go and just so many others. And not just world leaders, but also, elite billionaires. We've seen quite a few of them drop. Remember the ones that supposedly imploded on the Titanic submarine thing? Yeah, we know what happened there. We discussed that last year. So leaders, lots of falls of leaders, but also, again, even the fall of leaders like the global elite, which we have been seeing. And remember, we had Charles take over. And remember, before that even happened, I predicted the Queen's death long before it happened. and said that Charles would only be in there for a short period of time. And now we're hearing he's diagnosed with the big C. Now, just FYI, people think that, they're part of the global elite, of course, but at the same time, the high monarchy on the planet, the puppeteer, whoever that may be, doesn't want them. Remember, they want a one world leader and a one world government. Therefore, folks like the monarchies in England and such are going to need to go. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that happens. Or, they follow the way they want. Because I also do see William getting in there at some point in time as well. But I'm not really here to talk about them. I'm talking about the attempts that happened and those that were taken out. We just saw last week the Slovakian prime minister who actually is surviving. And many people are comparing him and saying, oh, he's like Donald Trump, calling him, an extremist. That's the word. So many are comparing some of these people who are being assassinated or attempted to be assassinated, comparing them to that. I just thought that was kind of a little bit interesting, to say the least. This seems like a huge theme that's going on, if you haven't noticed. Going after, those that they compare to that particular person makes you wonder. When will they try to actually take out Trump? Because they will. They already have. You just don't always hear about it. And even one of his family members, Spirit said, they're going to go after I'm not sure which one, but they're going to go after one of his family members. I'm thinking Junior, probably a Junior. I feel that they're going to fail, of course, as I predicted in the past. Now, if you rewind to my predictions from 2023, Spirit told us that we would have a double change. We would see a double change in power when it comes to Iran. And one who replaces them are actually going to be way worse. It's going to be those who seek and wish to seek revenge on Israel, America, and other parts of Europe. So, who's there in power? People might not like him, but at the same time, he's the one really keeping the peace. Someone else goes in there that wants revenge or isn't for peace, that's not going to be a good thing, and that's exactly where Iran's heading. Now, also in recent predictions, I saw someone important being unalived in a helicopter crash. I said that, I don't know how long ago, but that was in my plane predictions. I told you we would see lots of things with planes, plane crashes, planes, helicopters, anything with air, sky events, sightings, all of that. I said that back in January. And the helicopter crash was one of them. Of course, I did think it was going to be related to Hollywood, and I will say that there still is, Spirit says, going to be a helicopter crash connected to Hollywood. And even somebody like a well-known actor or actress, for example, being a part of that. So that's still in the works, according to Spirit. So, and we did see now, of course, the Iranian president, 8 people in all being unalived in the plane crash that happened a couple days ago. He's second in power, and he's a very powerful leader, of course, and apparently very well loved by the people of Iran. So, is the head leader next? Well, I will tell you one thing. I did look up his birthday. And what was his birthday again? Now I forget. It was a 4. He's in a 4 year, which is all about health and all. So you may be surprised, though. I'll go back to that in a minute. Who may be actually responsible, but when it comes to this whole thing in Iran, let's point out some very important pieces of information here that I believe is important. They say it was a result of the sudden heavy fog. That was the first thing they told us, right? That's the first thing they showed. Crash due to the heavy fog. That's what our news around here was saying, especially the mainstream news. That's what they told you. Now, Iran's coming out today saying it was a technical issue. A technical issue, or was it the fog? The fog would make more sense, but now that you just threw in technical issue, you just threw us through a loop of wondering, what do you mean? That doesn't make a darn bit of sense. Everybody already knows, but people assume that it was United States or related to that. So that's what they're saying. And Spirit tells me differently. Spirit says it was in relation to mountain dews. The mountains and the dews, and not the dew in the air, the fog. And here's another thing. I don't know if you realize this is really where they really get busted. Followed by that rolling fog that happened, and it was some pretty major fog, to say the least. In a really odd, manipulated way, it made it appear. Like, all of a sudden, like, it just really, really made it appear that the fog, like, wasn't responsible. It's really confusing. The whole thing is very, very confusing. So there was, once again, though, caught on radar, and I thought this is good, friends. Remember the channel I told you about, Into Thin Air? Well, that guy, and I didn't clip it. I should have clipped it to show you, but it's easier just to explain. You don't need to see. If you want to see it for yourself, go to his channel and look it up. So what he discovered, and I thought this was really interesting, really, really interesting, friends. What he caught on film is pretty astounding. Absolutely all of the weather radar for the day of that helicopter crash instantly disappeared off the radar. Gone. Not there anymore, friends. Gone. Not there. Where the H did it go? Somebody deleted it, obviously. Somebody didn't want you to see what was going on with the weather before this helicopter crash happened. Fake fog? Because a fog that thick looked more like a smoke than it did a fog. Right? And now Iran says it was a technical issue? Maybe the Ayatollah don't want him in there. Because the Ayatollah's on his way out. The head leader's on his way out. He's in a 4-year, so that affects health. We know that Queen Elizabeth passed in a 4-year. So that's what Into Thin Air discovered. No weather data to determine what really happened from the prior and even after that helicopter accident. So that to me was man-made for sure. And the missing data of the weather proves that there's something nefarious being hidden in plain sight. Helicopter sight. Anyway. So who is responsible? That's what you're asking, right? Everyone, of course, is jumping right into the blame right to the United States and Israel. Iran didn't, though. They didn't jump to blame. They said technical issue. After it was fog. They didn't say weather conditions. They said technical issue. That's two big, totally different causes of a crash. Completely different. What if I told you that it was not the case that it was the United States or Israel? It had nothing to do with them at all. As much as they probably prayed to make it happen. But no, it wasn't them at all. And actually, what Spirit shows me is that, did you know that there's CIA operatives that work within the walls of Iran? And they are the same CIA behind the global elite, the cabal, psychopaths, whatever you want to refer to it as. Remember, they always wish to deceive the public, put blame in a direction that brings more hatred and division. So I'm surprised at the outcome so far. More will come from this. With the overall goal, of course, with this deception is to push whoever they want into the head positions of power. We've seen it happen with Gaddafi. We've seen it happen in Iraq. It was to get them out of there for reasons not because of mass weapons of destruction. No. Saddam was actually loved by his people and it all came down to the money, of course, friends. He started printing his own money and doing his own money, and he had this whole gold and coins with his face on it. That was a big part of it. So, not only that, all the ancient wisdom lies in Iraq, Mesopotamia. What happened right after that whole Iraq thing in the ISIS? What was the first things they did? They went to all the ancient monuments and started blowing them up. Best way to lie about history is to destroy that history. So you don't know where you came from. Don't know what happened. But we know. And as the veil's thin and we receive these downloads of knowledge and wisdom through the light codes. Someone asked that in a question. What are light codes? A little hard. Basically, they're codes that come in, coded information that comes in the form of light and energy. And they come in during energy shifts on the full moon during the retrograde. Next one will be in August. Follow every week. I'll let you know when it is. That's when we see a lot of truth being revealed. That's when we see major events happen during these energies. the energy shifts. And then some, not all, but some flare situations, like the one we just had, also bring in light codes. And that is all basically downloaded information that goes within our soul. Within our soul is the computer chip. Your soul resides in the center of your brain, your pineal gland, which looks identical to a pine cone. If you go to the Vatican, what do you see outside the bottom of the steps? 2 giant pine cones. You ask them what it is, and of course they'll give you some lame excuse. They know exactly what it is. It's a representative. It's not the pine cone. It is the pineal gland where the divine resides. As even the Bible says, God lies within us. Where is that? Right at the center of your brain. That is your computer chip. It records all of your lives, all of your experiences, everything. And like a regular computer, sometimes you got to dig hard into the hard drive to find information, right? Like our past lives and why we came here. For example, your brain is the computer and your brain operates your robot, right? So every computer needs a hard drive. Your hard drive is your soul, which again resides in the center of your brain, the pine cone, the pineal gland, all very, very interesting. So moving right along, I just kind of jumped out of order there, but I thought that was important to share that all with you. That's why they use fluoride and things to suppress the pituitary, where all your psychic intuition comes from, and your pineal, which is all about communication with the God and the divine and Jesus and your spirit guides and so forth, and also your thyroid, your throat chakra, which is all about communication, socialization, and speaking up for yourself. So things like fluoride put a calcium deposit around those glands, the thyroid, pituitary, pineal. It's been done. And, that's one of the videos actually I'm going to work on over the next couple of weeks is the whole fluoride, where it started, how it happened. It's on my list. It's actually, I might work on that actually maybe next. I have a couple of really good ones in my mind. Actually, no, the next one I'm working on is a prophecy around fire. One that somebody pointed out in the comments, and I just got to tell you about it in a video. Moving right along. I have another video coming out tomorrow about the indigo children and the crystal children and the rainbow children, and whether or not you may be one of them. So make sure you keep an eye out for that premiere. I think it'll be tomorrow. If not, it'll be Thursday with the live Q&A. Please do not leave any questions down below. I have way more questions than I can actually answer. But our live Q&A for the month of May is definitely going to be Thursday. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be there, be square. Moving right along. So who is responsible? Did I tell you who was responsible? I did. We were talking about their powerful positions. Now, also, I remind you that Spirit told us not only would we see dual changes of power in Iran, but we would also see this for Saudi Arabia as well. We were told that it was going to be a fight for power within the walls of the castle itself for Saudi Arabia. And I'm getting that same thing basically for Iran. They know that the head of Iran, he's the same age as my pop, 86 years old. I could never see my pop, 86 years old, running a country. Oh my God, it's time to go lay down and take a nap, dude. So he's on his way out, no doubt about it. And he's in his 4th year, so if it's not this year, it's definitely going to be next year. Health-related stuff. I can't see him making it to his 9 year of endings. That's like 6 years. He'd be 90-some years old. No, he's definitely not making it that far. I'm going to say change of power this year. And I'm going to say that it's going to be somebody probably taking him out in some form or another. And they might tell you it was just technical issues. That might be what they tell you. You see my point here? This was all done from within the walls of Iran. It wasn't United States. It wasn't Israel. As much as, again, Israel probably prayed and did ceremonies to try to make this happen. Regardless, they got the wrong person, really, I would think. Wouldn't you want the guy that's in charge, not the guy below him, even though they're all very powerful figures, of course, very powerful figures. And that's really, really what happened there. A fight for power. Remember, I had visions, going back to Saudi Arabia, I had visions of leaders being stabbed in the back, metaphorically speaking, of course. Not literally. I mean, it could be literal, but I'm going metaphoric with that. By somebody surrounding them. So, metaphorically being stabbed in the back by those around them. That's definitely Saudi Arabia. I had clear vision. Remember also, Saudi Arabia spirit told us would cease to exist in the way it does now by the time we hit 2030. So now Iran is saying, again, it's technical issues that caused the crash. Then what happened with the fog? That's what I want to know. If it was a technical issue, tell us exactly what the technical issue is. Show us. Don't they have the little black box that tells you what happened? Yeah, they ain't going to tell you what happened. And why was all the weather data deleted? That's to me, folks, that's the biggest piece of evidence that into thin air came up, found. Which he must watch those satellites all the time. Kudos to him. It's a good idea, but I just don't have time for that. So we thank him for his work, though. Definitely thank him for his work. So why would they delete the data? All of a sudden, he shows you, all the weather data. All of a sudden, it skips from, I forget what the date was. Was it 16th to the 17th or whatever the date was? It was missing, completely missing. Weather data deleted. And it was all deleted right after that crash. So, see what I'm saying here, friends? Very, 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 very shady. Very shady. Spirit again shows me, CIA operatives within Iran with the goal of putting the leader into power that's going to be more willing to bring conflict to the Middle East. And I bet Ray's vice president has a hand in this accident. What's his name? Raisi's president, whatever the guy's name is, and excuse me for not getting that right, but the gentleman that passed away in the helicopter, the president. Sad story. But I bet you his vice president's very happy. I bet you his vice president has something to do with this. I'll bet you. Somebody does anyway. I don't know who. Spirit didn't tell me who exactly. They just told me within that circle, and it was all to fight because they know that the head's going to go, and they won't necessarily take out the head yet. Not until that person gets into second power, whoever's going to replace him. So I'm going to say whoever replaces him, which is likely the vice president, is obviously who's responsible. But there's going to be 2 changes of power, Spirit said. 2 changes. Double changes. And I know there were 2 leaders taken out in that helicopter. Important people. 2nd and 3rd in power, I believe. But that's still not 2 changes in power. That's just 2 people being replaced. So we're going to see this change in power coming. Interesting. And I would expect something to be happening in Saudi Arabia in the very, very near future as well. Here we go. I did take note of it. Iran's current supreme leader was born on April 19th, 1939, which means he just turned 85 years old. Again, the same year as my pop, 85 years of age, and placing him in his 4 personal year in numerology, which of course is notorious for health issues and even popular year for some people in numerology to pass away. Queen Elizabeth passed in her 4 year. There were a couple others too. And not everybody does. Again, the 9's actually more common. 9, the 4, the 2. And sometimes people do in the 1. Lisa Marie Presley passed in her 1 year. So I predicted the Queen's death 6 months prior to her passing. And part of that was because I knew she was in a 4 year and it was no doubt coming. So I'm not by any means, again, saying Iran's leader is going to fall from power in 2024 itself. But if I were him, if I were that leader, I'd be watching my back very, very closely and be aware of all those surrounding you right now because obviously somebody wants your seat because you're at that age where it's time for you to go. You're beyond the age. Someone wants your seat. And the person just got one big step closer to taking that seat of supreme power in Iran. I believe that this will come by 2025 at the latest. Maybe even this year. 2025 at the latest. And their current leader is going to join in on my assassin predictions, according to Spirit. And leaders falling from power. We saw important leaders fall from power over the past week. Actually, one was not even quite successful, but still, they tried. The attempt wasn't successful, but they still tried. The Slovenian prime minister. They tried. They might continue to try. But I feel like the whole assassin thing, we're not done with that, and neither is Iran. Iran just don't realize it. Or maybe they do, again. So hold on tight, friends, because there's a lot more to come, and soon We're going to see so many others falling from power, including within here in the United States. I also saw a vision of a drone once again being used to take out leaders of groups. I would think maybe Hamas supposedly would be one, or ISIS, but leaders of groups, Spirit said. Leaders of groups. So this could be a couple different scenarios. But there's going to be drone attacks. And when the presidency shifts, that's when things are going to really flare up. That's what Spirit just told me. So we'll just have to wait. That's a ways off. Let's get past the elections in the summertime first and the fall. Remember, Spirit telling us the most intense months of 2024, April, August, October. So, and that whole period from August through November, actually. Intense. It's going to be interesting. And going on the same subject of groups being taken out and more intense power shifts all over the world taking place. One other thing that no one is talking about right now is the attempt that just occurred in Mexico, right? In Mexico. Several attempts, may I add. And I'll even show you this video clip here. The police rushing by in the cars. 9 people unalived in 2 assassination attempts. And in candidates HQ, ambushed by a barrage of 50 bullets. Political violence reaches a boiling point in Mexico ahead of elections. Oh, they have elections too. Well, most of the world does, doesn't it? 2 mayoral candidates were nearly assassinated in separate attacks in Chiapas, Mexico. This week, as violence continues to spiral out of control ahead of the June elections. A total of 9 people were shot and unalived over the weekend during the failed attempts and plots, which also included shooting up the candidates' headquarters. So, interesting. That's the cartel, baby. They don't want those people there. Spirit just told me there will be conflict on the streets of Mexico. Just like conflict that breaks out after the elections in the United States. So that's we're going to see. People rising up and not being happy with these changes in power. All of them being put in place, by the way. Thank you, Spirit. Spirit just said, yep, all of them being put into place. That's why they're being taken out so that the WEF and United Nations and all of them can put in who they want. Crazy. Know what else is crazy? Not me, not you, but the weather, friends. The weather. Crazy weather. That is only going to get crazier. And baby, I got a lot to reveal about that today. Just in the past week, last week, I just mentioned in my visions, I warned Texas. Warned Texas many, many times. Every time I do, they get hit with something. And even mentioned Houston, Texas, back in my weather predictions. You may recall my visions last week or within the past week or two. I think it was last week, but it might have been 2 weeks ago. Windows being blown out of windows in high rises. Remember that vision? And I told you I thought it was like a tornado because of the damage I saw. Well, look at the damage. Unbelievable. Sadly, the whole state of Texas practically, which Spirit warned was also a targeted state, has been continuously nailed with this severe weather. And in Houston, you see the windows being blown out of high-rise buildings, the footage both disturbing and alarming. I also warned Louisiana. Will they be next? Of course. They'll join in on it. Spirit says they need to worry more about hurricane season and even early hurricanes. And they need to make sure their wall doesn't get breached like it did from Katrina. All right. Thanks for the message there, Spirit people. I'll get more information again as we head in. We're heading in, actually, in June. We head into hurricane season, monsoon season out here in Arizona. Interesting. We sure can use some rain. So, yeah, the whole state of Texas has just been hit one after another. So why does it seem like it's Texas, and in which Spirit, again, kept telling us it was targeted by the global psychopaths? Along with Florida. That's another targeted one. And we did see Florida get hit with some interesting weather. Can you say weather warfare friends. That's more likely what we see happening right now. And it's not necessarily warfare between, say, we'll just make up and say between the United States and China. It's more of a warfare of the United Nations against humanity. And that's where it's really creepy. That's where it's really creepy, friends. So I remember Spirit said we would see, in my 2024 predictions, we would see a record amount of tornadoes as well. And the Midwest here in the United States seems like it's just getting continuously nailed. Yesterday, there was at least 15 tornadoes. 15 tornadoes, over more than that before that. 15. Can you imagine? You know, all these tornadoes seem to be hitting areas where all the Trump supporters live. Isn't that interesting? Like Texas? Seems interesting to me. Fascinating. I don't believe in coincidences, do you? Could it all be connected? So over and over and over again, I have shared truth and evidence about the manipulation that is taking place with things as they continue to push all of humanity, or those willing anyway, into the fear and being afraid of the weather and of the climate and the changes. All of a sudden, they've been pushing it for a while. If you remember back in the day, it was global warming until, there was too much evidence to prove that not to be entirely complete truth. And then it turned into the climate thing. Right? You notice that? Because back in the 90s, it was global warming. That's what's happening. But when all the stuff, remember Al Gore came out with that documentary? And all the stuff that he claimed was going to happen by 2000 and all that, none of it ever happened. None of it. So then they had to start to push the issue a little more to make people believe. Change the name of it and do things with other forms. Warfare, friends, basically. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Going back to the 1950s, where you hear what one of the presidents says, when we control the weather, we control the world. Who was that? Eisenhower? I think it was Eisenhower. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Eisenhower that said that. We control the weather, we control the world. And they did that. They did that, friends. They did it already in the past. I'll tell you about it in a minute. So suddenly, again, they remember now all of a sudden it's, pushing the climate. And the climate's definitely shifting. But is it all natural, friends? What is really, really happening, friends? I'm going to let you tap into your own intuition on that one. Just tap into your own intuition and always go with your first instinct. Spirit says that more severe weather, unlike anything we've witnessed so far. I see more flooding in the deserts, whether it be the Middle East deserts, even here in Arizona. This summer, we're going to get hit with record-breaking monsoons in the Midwest here, Arizona, Utah, Nevada. Once again, I see the streets of Las Vegas completely flooded out, and even a potential dam break somewhere in Nevada. Let's just hope it's not the Hoover. Spirit's giving me all that information right now, not in any notes, so you know. Not only that, record-breaking monsoons and not monsoons. What do they call them over there in Asia? Typhoons. They're going to get hit. Major typhoons. I see major flooding coming. And this is like during the summer months. Major flooding and damaging high winds up to 100 miles per hour hitting Asia, Japan, China, Vietnam, and others. I'm going to say especially when we hit August, late July, August into September, man. Look out, friends. Also, I warned to prepare for August storms. Again, earthquakes and other huge events happening in the month of August. This is going to include record heat that's coming to India before even August this summer. And the record heat is going to become responsible for unaliving many people due to the severe heat that hits India, parts of China, and a few other countries. Especially that continent up there around Asia for some reason. One question I ask of you to consider around all this crazy weather is actually, again, is it natural or is it warfare? Ask yourself that question. Go down the rabbit hole with me, friends. Remember, Spirit told us that it would be the case a few years ago. Spirit said, that this would all be the case, including warfare, weather being used against people and against different countries. Now we see it happening. Remember, that includes fires, by the way. That's why I think in the next video I'm going to work on for next week will be the fire prophecy. I've done quite a few videos. I did another one on fires within the past month, live. They blocked it, so you might not be able to find it. If I remember, I'll try to put a link up above. But go directly to my channel to find videos that you may have missed. And I haven't had a chance, but eventually I want to go in my channel and organize videos into categories. So, just busy man. So tell me what you think, though, down below in the comments, of course. Let us move on. Power outages and weather attacks. That is our next subject. Remember my visions of seeing a city going in dark? And we talked about it extensively about coming power outages, Houston, Texas, and, Houston, Texas was just in the dark. Over 1 million customers in Houston, Texas were without power during those storms. That is a city going in the dark. But I still see another one going in the dark. Chicago just popped in my mind. Chicago in the dark. Headlines. That's not even in my notes, but I just got that from the spirits. I do feel like there's sabotage coming around power grids. I told you this before, but I'm going to tell you again. I see this in the United States, United Kingdom, France, Paris specifically, and even in Iran. Spirit warns that there is a sinister plan to purposely begin rolling out our power and adding severe limitations on power consumption. This is going to be very challenging, especially for Americans who very much rely on their air conditioning. I know, like, parts of Europe, they don't even use air. They don't believe in air. Americans believe in their air, especially in Arizona when it's 100 and some degrees outside. You know what's concerning to me? Check out this letter I received from my power company. Let's see. They send out this letter, APS in Arizona, and it's a look at your total energy use, right? And on this letter, it says that your electricity use was not in the efficiency zone. Wait until you see this. This is pretty crazy, friends. My use is not in the efficiency zone. I use barely any electric. I'm very, very mindful of the power I use. And I live alone. I don't need to use much power. It shows here that I used 249 kilowatts. 249, friends. Do you know what the similar homes used? Because it shows right here, similar homes. I don't know how well you can see that. Similar homes compared to me. I'm the one up top in blue. 249 kilowatts versus the similar homes, 1,081 kilowatts. Friends, I'm not even using a quarter, not even a quarter, less than a quarter of what other houses are using. And they're telling me I'm not in their efficiency zone. I mean, look at the differences in the bars. My little tiny blue bar and their giant gray bar. But I'm the one not in the efficiency zone. And when you're not in the efficiency zone in the future, they're going to shut you down. They're going to shut you down when you get to a certain amount of usage, kilowatts. That's the plan. This is all part of the plan of why they put in smart meters a long time ago in people's houses that we fought that put off major amounts of radiation, by the way. Make sure that your bedroom, and especially where the head of your bed rests in your bedroom, is nowhere near on the opposite side of the wall of those smart meters. You don't want to be nowhere. Get a radiation detector and go near it. You'll see what I mean. Bad as your microwave. So I do still feel, again, there's sabotage around grids and such. And that this letter here, to me, proves that they're planning that. They're getting you used to it. They're telling you, hey, look, you're not in our efficiency zone. But in my case, it's just a joke. Why would you even waste a letter? I'm using less than a quarter of everybody else. So, to me, it wouldn't hurt me much because what is their efficiency zone is 248 kilowatts. I'm 1 kilowatt above that. 1 kilowatt above that. Others are over 800 kilowatts more than that. 1 kilowatt. So 1 kilowatt isn't going to kilowatt me. They're not going to kilowatt me, y'all. Nope. But those people that use 1081, oh, that's going to kilowatt you real bad. That's not going to be good. And that's what they're going to do, and you're going to start to see this according to Spirit from the summer, starting this summer. So overall, we can predict now, again, that power companies are already prepping. They're warning us of our consumption, and you saw it. I use 77% less than everybody else. It even says that on there. You use 77% more than everybody else. Less than everybody else, 77% less than everyone else. But they're still telling me I'm using too much, and I'm not in their zone. Seriously? That doesn't make sense. And as you see, I barely use much energy. Maybe a bit more, of course, in the summertime when the air conditioner is running, of course. My air's on today, low, but it's really not too bad out. What is it? 77 degrees. So maybe I might be a little higher. This is from last month where I basically didn't use any except for maybe putting the heat on in the morning for a minute just to take the chill off. So I don't know. I'll have to go back. They don't tell you your monthly. This is based on, oh yeah, it is the month. February 21st till March 19th. So I actually was still using my heat at the end of February. So interesting. That's what's happening, friends. That's what they're going to do. It's hot here in Arizona. You need our air. And to me, this is an obvious way of just prepping you, mind programming you to get ready. So when they start cutting it off, you can't say you didn't warn us. You didn't tell us. So yeah, we did. We sent you a letter every month telling you how much you were using. You kept continuing to use it. You didn't try to slow down. We warned you. That's exactly what they're going to say, friends. Exactly what they're going to say. Until they start to force people, this is coming to me too. In some areas, they're going to force people to pay to have solar panels put on their homes. In some areas, it's going to become a law. That just came to me. Spirits are chatty today. Gotta love those spirits. Gotta love those spirits. So, what zone are you in, friends? Are you in the efficiency zone? So Spirit warns to prepare, as some companies are going to start rolling out people's power in places that would not expect this to happen, beginning this summer. I also see huge outages in India, and I also see and believe that this huge outage in India is connected to a cyber hack attack. Well, that's for sure. India certainly houses a lot of the scammers and a lot of the cyber attackers. If you ever watch some videos, they're pretty good where the guy scams the scammers. I haven't seen them pop up on my feed in a while. But yeah, they're funny. They're great. He hacks into their computers and calls them out on their scams, and they're always in India. Always. Well, not always, but majority. I'd say 95%, at least in his videos. So Chicago, that's a place that often comes to mind in the realm of predictions. It comes to mind again today, this morning, or last night. I start working on this usually on Mondays. Finish it on Tuesday mornings, record it on Tuesday afternoon, and try to get it uploaded in a decent time. So that just goes to show how time-consuming Tittle Tuesday is, friends. It's time-consuming, but I enjoy it. I'm not complaining. I'm bragging. I'm not complaining. So therefore, being Chicago comes to mind, I'm going to say Chicago is going to endure a huge blackout, which I did see earlier. Spirit did say it, but in my notes, it didn't say it in my notes. I see also power issues that are going to hit the United Kingdom. Even streets in England will go dark at certain points. A cyber attack is coming to Paris, affecting their grids and their water supply. That's going to be a mess, especially when they can't flush their toilets in Paris. Boy, that's going to be a stinky situation. And even our friends down under in Australia might. Yes, my Australian friends. I really want to go to Australia one day. Man, let me tell you, that is a heck of a long plane ride. I mean, like, heck, I thought you think Peru was far? But I would love to go there. Maybe I will in the future one day. So, even our friends down under, Spirit says, are going to experience issues during their winter months with power outages, which is now, they're heading into their winter months. We're heading into our summer months, but they're heading into their winter months. So is this all a system manipulation? That's the question. We covered it many times. Spirit confirmed it over and over again that someone perhaps being the global psychopaths, are manipulating weather. Is it true? Is it possible? Everything from the lines of smoke that we see up above. You know what I'm talking about without me even saying it, or otherwise I'll get a blue tag at the bottom of my video. That, those things in the sky and the grids above us. Because sometimes it's like a tic-tac-toe grid. It's kind of interesting. And even sometimes spirals, which is really, really interesting. Not only that, what we caught on radar. Well, not what we caught. Actually, into thin air caught on radar. And even, I remember Dutchsinse, the earthquake dude, caught lasers on the radar before the fires in California, and they took his videos down. That should tell you something right there. Definitely should tell you something right there. So just in the past month, stuff was caught on radar. Those lasers coming from the weather towers. Why are weather towers putting out lasers towards the storms that were bringing havoc and tornadoes all over the Midwest? That was 2 weeks ago I showed you that. So if you missed that show 2 weeks ago, to me, in my opinion, was one of my best shows, just because I did those clips about the water and the clips about the Anunnaki and all kinds of cool stuff I did. Check it out. A couple weeks ago, episode 116. Now, I found this very alarming information, which is, to me, more clear proof that's exactly what's happening. Some government documents for you. Some government documents along with the aeroplane. Where is the aeroplane? I don't have that in my notes. Did I not put it in my notes? The aeroplane. There's an aeroplane that we'll go through this. If it's not here, then I'll bring it at the end. I'll show you the aeroplane. But it's really interesting, friends. Someone giving us a tour of one of those planes that, cause those mysterious things above us in the skies that show more clear proof. Well, I got some other good proof for you today, friends. Government documents from not only within the United States, but I have some from Wales, including a document from the European Parliament on the health concerns brought on from things that are happening above us. Even Jesus said there would be signs in the heavens. So this makes much more sense when you see this. Oh, and here's the plane clip, actually. Let me show you the plane clip. Let me pull it up. Pull up the plane clip. Now, sometimes, so you may not know, sometimes content providers, when they show you different things, sometimes they have to alter maybe the sound. So just in case. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I thought I'd make you aware of that so that you do understand that. So this is a video that, did I find this or someone send it to me? I can't remember. I think I came across this. Not even in a search. I think it was on my feed. So watch this video of this guy, and he's taking you in. I'll just check it out. I'll show you. Check this out.
So we're not getting paid out anymore. This plane has been certified to use the Chemtrail fluid DK5812. And so it holds 50 gallons in each tank here, and then the fuel goes in this one. And then right in the exhaust, just right up here, there's a injector that sprays the fluid when you turn on the switch. And the switch, it won't spray fluid unless the engine's running because it's like real toxic chemicals. So it needs to make sure like you're in the air. We get paid about $10 a gallon to spray the stuff. And this has a government issued retrofit kit. And you can see down here, they installed this switch As you can see, it says chemtrails. You just turn it on, and then you just collect money. That's how it works.
Now, did you listen very closely? You see it. You see the exhaust. You see it for yourself, friends. You see it for yourself. Now, of course, there'll be debunkers out there who'll say it's not real or whatever they're going to say, but you see it for your own self. And did you hear in the very beginning? Let me just play that little clip from the beginning. I want you to pay very, very close attention, and you should be able to read it for yourself. The video should be clear enough for you to read what he's saying. What he's saying goes into that tank. Here it is.
Chemtrail fluid DK5812.
DK5812 is what he's talking about. 5812. Now, I went, of course, down that rabbit hole, and I've done videos years ago on going down the rabbit hole of the manipulation. It's actually called SAI. What's the S stand for? I know it's aerosol injection, but what's the S? I'm drawing a blank. But that's what it's called. Something aerosol injection. I'll show you in one of the articles that I'm going to pull up that you have to see. We thank that gentleman for showing us that little airplane, but there's big airplanes that do it too, not just that little tiny airplane, because that thing's only 50 gallons. That isn't doing very much. 100 gallons total, because there's one on each wing. He says it's 50 gallons each. We don't know how far that goes, though, too. It comes out as a mist. That could go hundreds of miles. Who knows? But it can't be that much. It's not that much, really. But it's what it is. Now, also, I'll say, me. If you know me well enough, you'll know that I had to jump down the rabbit hole. I jumped right on down that rabbit hole when I saw that plane, just because of the chemical name that he said. That's what made me, because I don't, we hear that it's barium, aluminum particles, and a couple other toxic things. But I never heard that term before, DK58-12. I never heard that before. So that's what really made me wonder. And that's what made me jump into this rabbit hole and discover just some pretty astounding information. And I didn't go that far down the rabbit hole. It's like I jumped in and maybe walked a few feet, and then I came back out of the rabbit hole. That rabbit hole's deep, friends. Really deep. So did you hear the man? Again, he said he read off the label next to the tank and the wing. He read it off, and he read off the name of the chemical. So, of course, I went, and again, that's the first thing I did that made me go down the rabbit hole, was searching, trying to find that chemical. And here's my search results. This is what my search results showed. You see at the top, it shows very clearly, my search results, or what I'm searching for. And then look at all the results. Every single result has something to do with, as you can read it for yourself. I don't want to say it. I found that very interesting. I'm like, well, then obviously it's connected if I type it in, but I could not find the DK5812 anywhere. Like, I could not find it. Even though when I Google it or put it in my search engine, I don't actually use Google. I use, what's the other one? Regardless, a different search. That's what came up. You saw what came up. All stuff related to that whole thing that relates to the plane, right? Kind of makes sense now. Thought that was really, really interesting. Now, interesting enough, I could not find anything, again, on that exact DM58-12. Now, my buddy Mike found one of these ingredients in the makeup of the DM. So the DM is a mixture, is what we gather. Is what I gathered. And here's one of the toxic things that is in that mixture. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a chemical expert. What my buddy Mike believes, and I don't know because we're both not chemical experts, but from what he gathers is the 12, the -12, 12 means hazardous materials. Now, I know somebody watching this has got to know what this all means. I know I got some, y'all are smart people, and I know one of you is smart and knows chemical compounds. So tell us what that all is, if you can, please. We appreciate you. And don't go look it up and then put it in the comments. I mean, somebody that actually knows, somebody that went to college and may know exactly what it all is. Because I know you all out there. Gets even better, friends. I found this letter of concern. Written to the Wales government showing concerns of such events taking place above our heads outdoors. Not only that, of course they deny it. The country of Wales, of course, denies it all. Now, I didn't bring the clip up. I showed it to you many times. You can go look it up for yourself. It's a long clip. But the former head of the CIA, I can't remember his name, went on C-SPAN and talked about it. Aerosol injections. And that was over 10 years ago. You don't think they're doing it? Of course they're doing it. Where is my letter to, here it is, the letter to the, so someone wrote a letter to the government of Wales outlining these following things that you see here. That's their questions. I think they're all legitimate questions. Thank you for your request I received on August 16th, 2021. You asked the following information as to what chemicals are being sprayed across Welsh skies. Specifically, you asked, which laws allow chemicals to be sprayed blocking sunlight? Does the Geneva Convention protect you from spraying? Is the Welsh government in breach of Nuremberg? What does the spray contain? Well, you can read it all for yourself. You can just pause it and read that down. What I want to look at is right here, the response. Following the search of our paper and electronic records, I have established that the information you requested is not held by the Welsh government. Welsh government is not aware of any such operations from aircraft, and you see the end of it. Oh, they're more than aware. Hello, you can't go outside and look and not notice. One day over the other, and they say it's the atmosphere. And we know for a fact it's happening. I mean, all the evidence is there. They can say whatever they want and throw out all their fake scientists or whatever they want, but we know for a fact. It's showing up in the soil. It's showing up in the waters. I remember when I lived back east in Pennsylvania, Bristol Township Water, they put out their little newsletter with the water. They test it and they tell you everything that's in the water. I noticed the two highest things that were in the water were aluminum and barium. Why is there such high amounts of aluminum and barium in the public water in Bristol Township, Pennsylvania? Makes you wonder. It doesn't make me wonder. I know exactly why that's happening. Because they do it really bad there. Really bad. And I remember when I first moved here, you barely ever saw that up here in Sedona. Especially when I used to come visit. We would never see it here, but now you do. Not a lot, but we do get it. And I stay indoors when I can. I don't go out and breathe that crap in. Something that actually can help metal detox is charcoal. You can buy charcoal capsules. A couple of those are good for absorbing toxins out of your body. All toxins. So here it gets even better. Besides that little letter from the Wales government. Hold on tight. It gets juicier and juicier, friends. Juicy and juicier like juicy fruit bubble gum. So this one comes from the European Parliament. Answering the question, is this harmful to our health? And I advise you, friends, if you are squeamish or the squeamish type, or if this is going to affect your daily life, I tell you to skip ahead a whole minute or so. Skip ahead a minute or so. This is from, as you see, the European Parliament at the top. Questions for the written answer to the Commission, Rule 117, whatever all that means. And let's bring it up big. According to an Italian blogger, in 1996 until now, there has been an increase of chemical trails, also known as chemtrails, which many people know nothing about. These trails, unlike condensation trails, do not dissipate quickly into the atmosphere. In addition, there is proof which confirms the presence of there being harmful chemical elements in these trails. Some researchers have studied the composition and effects of this phenomena, which may, to us, seem harmful and commonplace. According to these experts, chemicals are the result of experimental operations which have a manifold purposes, whatever that means. The main objectives... Wait, there was another part here. I want to skip ahead. I don't want to read the whole darn thing, do you? Oh, here you go. The analysts carried out by verified in presence of the following elements in these trails. Barium, I told you. Aluminum. Radioactive thorium, never heard of that. Calcium, copper, titanium, silicon, lithium, cobalt, lead, I don't know what that is, and so forth, and several other pathogenical agents. These trails can cause conditions called Morgellons syndrome, It is a disease that causes serious deterioration of the body, all as well as diseases associated with other illnesses such as tumors, Parkinson's disease, and cardiac dysfunction. Given the effects to human health caused by trails described in the blog seem to be very serious, can the Commission state if any of this is basically the European Union's position in regards to the objectives that are being pursued in giving rise to this phenomena? Of course, there was no answer to that. I couldn't find no answer to it anyway. But you pretty much got it right there. That's right on the European Parliament's website, friends. That's their website. They put that out. So I thought that was interesting. Well, it gets even a little bit more interesting again. Finally, I have an article from the United States government website, right at .gov, addressing the environmental concerns revolved around potential manipulations. Right? Is this one? There you go. Are persistent aircraft trails a threat to the environment and health? This comes from directly, you can see, the environmental health. This is the one I was trying to find. That relates to the weather. So we're going to jump down here a little bit. And again, you can pause it and read it for yourself. The fact that these things have gradually filled the skies over the last 20 years would be due to an increase of air traffic. However, other official documents link these persistent trails to a weather modification technology called solar geoengineering stratospheric aerosol injection, SAI. These sprays would mainly be composed of metallic particles, aluminum, barium, SRFE nanoparticles, and sulfur, which would be considerably increase air, soil, and water pollution. Many of the current environmental and health problems are consistent with those described in the literature on solar geoengineering and SAI, stratospheric aerosol injection. This method is employed, for example, metal particles used will be... Oh, I just lost my spot. I hate when that happens. Metal particles used are well-known environmental contaminants, ozone layer depletion, cardiorespiratory diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, and sunburn. When I read that, I thought, wow, sunburn, that kind of makes a lot of sense. You know how they tell us we can't go out in the sun's too hot. But you're supposed to be reflecting the sun. That's what that's supposed to be doing. Why does it seem like it's doing the opposite? Because, you know, if you watch the former head of the CIA talk about it, he tells you, yeah, we're going to do this and we are doing this because it's going to reflect the sunlight. They tell you. It's funny how they tell you they do it, but they deny it at the same time. Again, there goes your division. Get, you know, the easy sheeple to believe it, that it's not happening, while the rest are all, they label you as a tinfoil hat wearer. Even though there's evidence right on their own government websites that tell us it's exactly what's happening. But I like this particular one because it brings up the whole, because, you know, again, the head of the CIA said it was to reflect sunlight and help the climate, right? This says differently. It says that it's, so, what do they call it besides SAI? Solar something. Solar geoengineering. I heard geoengineering, but I never heard it referred to as solar geoengineering. Solar is the sun. It's bright. Heating things up, maybe? Doing the opposite of what they say? Think about that, friends. Think about that. Because now, you know, the sun's hotter. I'm in Arizona. I notice it's a lot hotter here. But over the years, I'm a sun, you know, back east, always at the beach, pool, you know, all that. The sun got hotter. You know, skin cancers become worse and worse. Remember the whole ozone layer thing back in the 80s and the hairspray? Because we used hairspray like crazy in the 80s. The 80s were the best. And then they banned the aerosols, and then the ozone layer supposedly replenished itself. Now, it's just interesting. What to believe nowadays? What to believe? Oh, I got to move on. This show's never going to get uploaded. So let me remind also the cynical folks out there who may not believe. And, of course, you know, you can believe whatever you want to believe. That's one of the wonderful things about being a human. But also, I, again, encourage you to do your own research before you try to debunk things. And don't go do research that you're reading all the stuff that's trying to debunk it. No, go into the government files and the government papers to research, not people's blogs or websites. All that information I just showed you came from government websites, other than the plane, of course. So do your own little research. But I also want to remind you of something else to the cynical people, especially. You know, back in Vietnam, during the conflict against the United States in Vietnam, the United States admitted that they used the technique of cloud seeding, which is weather manipulation, to cause major floods in Vietnam to flood out the tunnels of the Vietnamese military. That was back in the 70s, 60s, friends. They were doing it then. Now imagine how far in 50 years, over 50 years, their technology has advanced. Come on, with the help of the little alien friends. So I would imagine that whatever exists today would totally, literally blow people's minds. That people would never believe it because they're so advanced. And, you know, we slowly get a little bit of the advancement. You know, now the AI is being pushed out. We get little by little. But they have all this. They've had AI probably for decades, probably 50 years ago. Don't let them kid you. So speaking of mind-blowing inventions, just to mention this for a moment, did you see this documentary on Netflix? And I can't remember what it's called. Somebody will put it down below in the comments or in the chat room. But it's about all the technology that was suppressed, covered up, and hidden. And many folks believe, many folks all of a sudden disappeared or all of a sudden showed up unalived due to their groundbreaking inventions, that the government has all these patents that are secret that you're not allowed to know about now. Patents are supposed to be like, so, we're protected. Why would you hide it? You can't. What if someone else comes up with the idea? It's just, they hide things. Like, here's an example. And this is what we're going to see in the future, friends. I'm excited about it personally in the new Earth, because this is what we're going to see. We're not going to have electric cars. We're not going to have gas cars. We're going to have groundbreaking vehicles that run on the air. They run on nothing. Look at this. This is an article right here. This is great, actually. An article right out of the newspaper going back to, what year was this? A car that runs on fumes. Come on now. Electricity taken from the air drives automobiles. Sounds like Tesla, right? The energy comes from there. You know, that's what the obelisks were used for in ancient Egypt. The obelisks that were all over Egypt, that we now have one at the White House. And we have actually several ancient Egyptian obelisks in the United States. One's in New York at the park. There's quite a few. Very symbolic, too. They use them as a way of transferring energy as well. Those things, I just drew a blank on what they're called now, obelisks, those obelisks contain quartz and metals, which reflects the energy. The Great Pyramid, we know for fact, scientists have confirmed they were used as power plants to generate electricity. Free energy that was put out the way Tesla did from the pyramid and bounced off all the obelisks all over Egypt, giving them their free energy. There's hieroglyphics with light bulbs. So, well, they had this. Again, they were very high advanced. Because it was the gods, the so-called, we were created in the image of gods. The Anunnaki. Damn, that's another rabbit hole to go down, friends. So, let's move on to the UN takeover and civil unrest. So, is it possible that there could be a takeover by United Nations? We know the United Nations is the heart of the devil. If you don't know that, just look back at the founding fathers and Old Man Bush. Remember Old Man Bush, the first George Bush president, his grandfather. And the whole goal of the United Nations. We have video, I've showed you many times, I didn't dig it up, of Old Man Bush saying, he wasn't old then, but saying that we're going to form the N, the W, and the O. I'm not going to say, because again, I don't want to blue tag at my video. I already said things, they'll probably blue tag me anyway. It's all good. So, is there a plan? If you go back at least a year ago, I can't even remember. It might have even been in one of my channeled videos. I saw visions of the UN troops with the little blue helmets on, raiding into a country as if they were invading it. Not saving it, invading it. And I talked about that a couple times because I also talked about that happening in Africa, and it did. And it will again. Also, if you remember, I think it was back in 2020. Yeah, it was in 2020. People started to catch on video here in the United States, trains with all these UN vehicles on it. And I remember at one point it became such a big thing that they turned around and said, well, we make them here and send them to the UN. They weren't going out. They were coming in. I mean, armored UN vehicles. There was even video. And I should have looked it up. I could have found it and looked it up and showed you. But again, I'm running late and I want to get this up. There's video of even warehouses in the United States housing all these UN vehicles. Why? And remember, the Obama, the Obama administration started to militarize our police. Actually, it probably started with Baby Bush. Right after the whole 2001 event, they started militarizing all our police. And you say it, they're all militarized. They're the same type of militarized vehicle, UN vehicles that were caught being hauled on trains and even on the highway. There was also a video of somebody driving on the highway somewhere in the United States and saw all these UN vehicles on the back of trucks, bringing them in. No, not UN people, but bringing them in. Now, let's rewind a couple months back when I showed you the little video clip, or we talked about the video clip of the guy in the back of the taxi in New York talking to the guy, and the guy showed him his UN ID that was also a credit card. And the taxi driver said, well, what are you doing here? He's like, they just told us where to go and told us to sit back and wait till we get a call. That was in New York. That was this year, earlier this year, probably January, February. I'm pretty sure it was this year, at latest December of last year. You all remember that. I'm sure you may have saw the video yourself. I don't know if I showed it to you. I may have. But it was a big deal. Excuse me. So what's going on? I said, what's going on? Anyway, it might have even actually been back in 2022, perhaps. And even again, back in 2020. But in 2022 and perhaps early 2023 is when I started to have even more visions and made predictions where I saw a UN takeover happening. And I wasn't sure where, other than the one in Africa, but that was going back to 2020. I'm pretty sure that came into fruition already. What I saw was more of an invasion. It wasn't them coming in to help. It was them invading. That's the whole vibe I got from it. So, and again, I thought first Africa, but now no. Now I'm starting to think and feel, because I told you all these people that are coming across the borders, not just in the United States, other countries too, they are being paid and being directed to do so. A majority of them. Millions going into our countries. Many of them now we know have a United Nations identification and credit cards to pay for everything, all their travels. Why would the United Nations be paying to send people into our countries? Come on, friends, put on your thinking cap. It shouldn't be that hard, right? Shouldn't be that hard. Now, I'll go back to many of my past predictions before even any of this happened, where I saw invasions happening in our country of the United States. I saw it happening in parts of Europe, some type of invasions. And, of course, back in the day, we thought right away, oh, maybe it's China invading our borders. What if it's the United Nations? They're the part of they are the 2030 agenda, friends. That is them. The WEF, it's all one big web of darkness with that big old spider puppeteer in the middle. It's all connected. It's one big old web of darkness. It would make more sense. Now, people think, oh, it's China. Oh, China's definitely sending their people in here, no doubt about it. So are parts of the Middle East sending their people over our borders. That's happening too. We also have the UN coming in our borders, hiding in our hotels, acting like they're immigrants, when really they're being put here and being paid to put here. That's very, very concerning, friends. Extremely concerning. Something's coming. Now, I heard someone say this. And I will go deeper into this in meditation to see what more information I can get and dig up. Perhaps even over the next couple weeks, do a channeled meditation. I know y'all like that. I don't need to do that to give you visions and predictions, but I know y'all like that kind of thing. So maybe I'll do that and try to dig deeper in what this UN thing is, specifically in my intentions when I meditate. There's something to it. And let me just show you these two little, check this one out. They are already here and they just don't have their uniforms on yet. I agree. 100%. Totally agree. That's one of them. And here's another one. People are catching on, friends. This is part of the awakening. This one is concerning the UN troops to be deployed across U.S. as Pentagon prepares for civil unrest. So now they're actually telling us. This came out May 15th, 2024. Fact-checked by the People's Voice community. I didn't even notice that before. Not that we need their fact checks because they lie about everything. We don't want their fact checks. 2.2 million people posted about this place. It says, UN troops to be deployed across United States as Pentagon prepares for civil unrest. So they are coming in. And they have been since 2020, friends. As soon as Biden took over, we started seeing these vehicles come in. Now, we saw it back in 2020, or back in Obama's administration, too. Remember the guillotines and the big boxes, all those big boxes that were found on that farm that could fit several people in them? Remember that? And the government was renting the property, and when people found out about it in the middle of the night, they came and moved them all out because it went viral. This was way back. I lived back in Pennsylvania when that happened. It was during Obama. Now, the guillotine thing, I never was able to validate or confirm that one, so that could just be some kind of tinfoil hat wearing type of thing. They'll tell you it is even if it isn't. So this is why I say, friends, this is a bit concerning. And what we need to do to divert these things, because I know you're thinking that right now, how do we divert something? Well, first of all, as Spirit has been telling us since 2020, January 2020 to be exact, way before the whole lockdown, Spirit started telling us back then to get ready, be prepared, stock up on food, water, protection. Make sure you have an escape plan. Spirit's been telling us that since 2020. And right after that, it would have been smart if we would have stocked up right away, because then it would have made the whole lockdown a little bit easier because we were already stocked up. And the more you stock up, because prices keep rising, of course, stock up a little bit now, as much as you can, so it lasts you a couple months, because a couple months it's going to be more money. So it's good that you have that stock. So Spirit's been warning us for a reason. And as you know, if you've been following long enough, Spirit never ceases to amaze us. Always ceases to amaze us. Always ceases to amaze us. Always. I might be wrong, but those damn spirits, they always right, y'all. They always right. Right, guys? Right, girls? All right. Rock and roll. High fives. High fives, Spirit. High fives. High fives, y'all. Hey, I just want to take a moment. If you're enjoying today's content and you're still hanging out with us, thanks so much for doing so. Thank you for the contributions that have been sent in through Chat Cash, PayPal, and Venmo, and all those things. I couldn't do it without you. I greatly appreciate it with infinite love and gratitude. Remember, you can vibe with the tribe by smashing that subscribe and joining the community down below. More than anything, it takes a lot of time and effort to put all this together for you. And I appreciate you showing me a little love by smashing that love button, which is the thumbs up button. Now, I know the same people come in every week and hit the opposite of that. I know it's the same people because it's always 9 people every week. 9 people every week. So I know it's the same people. It's just 9 and 11 is really bizarre. I'll have to show you someday on my feed. I'll have to go on my dashboard to show you. I know who a couple of them are too. But I appreciate you, friends. I lovely appreciate you. I love and appreciate you. So I saw the United Nations going into this country like military takeover. Now, again, what would you do if that was the United States? Well, now they're warning us in articles that they're already here. They denied it years ago when we saw all of them being trucked in on trains and on our highways. People going online and then telling us, oh, well, the companies make them here and send them to them. BS. We know they shipped all the vehicles here. Now they've been shipping all the people here. That's what I saw I listened to, it was redacted, where they said, they interviewed somebody yesterday. I think it was yesterday's show on Redacted. That's the show I enjoy listening to when it comes to news information. I forget who the guy was, but he said that he believes that they're going to have, lockdowns due to some kind of outbreak, and they're putting the UN in place to make sure you stay indoors. I don't feel like that's it. I mean, it's definitely to keep us indoors, but I don't think that's it. And as I told you before, I see in the future martial law. I don't know how far in the future, but probably soon. Martial law in Washington, D.C., that's probably coming by the end of this year, by November for sure. It's going to be wild. wild, friends. So again, just stock up. Don't be scared. Be prepared. That's all. Know always we can hold things in the light. Know that we'll be safe. Know that our friends, our family, and loved ones will all be safe. So we're prepared. We have a way to be fed, get our water, be protected. That's what matters. And with weather systems, plan if you have a basement. I even thought about that even though I'm in a canyon, and it'd be odd to see. But anything's possible. A twister coming through the canyon. I mean, usually canyons break up twisters, but it's possible. And I thought, where would I go? What would I do? I'd have to, go under the house and hold on tight to the concrete anchors, hoping that I don't go away. I must move on. Tainted water. We talked about tainted water many, many times, including prediction of conflicts over water. One of my predictions not long ago included the water being tainted, or reminded me of Flint, Michigan. Well, now this is actually happening right now in the United Kingdom. Our friends in the UK. Would you like some tea and a biscuit? Oh, I hate these pop-up things. No, I don't want your Yahoo. I want the ad, darn it. Reject. I don't want your darn cookies. 2 in the hospital and 46 confirmed cases of a water parasite outbreak. Water parasite? See, that's the thing. That the reason they put chlorine in the water. And did you know they do it more in the summertime than the winter? Why? Because in the summertime, there's more algae growth in the water. And that's why. And the chlorine is supposed to kill the parasites and the algae. Otherwise, you'd have a green tint to your water. It would instantly turn green because of all the algae. So it's one of the main reasons. That's why in the summertime, you smell more chlorine in your water than you do in the wintertime. That's why. So you would think the chlorine would kill them. Will us if we drink enough of it. That stuff is so toxic. Like that is just, and they say, food grade chlorine, because they put it in our tanks up here, which is ridiculous. We have the best water. Why would you do that to our water? It's food grade. It's toxic, period. Do your research. 2 people have been left in the hospital following a parasite outbreak in the seaside town, causing sickness and stomach pains. The environmental secretary has revealed they are currently now 46 confirmed cases of, all right, let me try to get this one out, Cryptosporidium. I probably totally just butchered that. A waterborne disease which can cause unpleasant symptoms such as diarrhea and vomiting in the Brixham area of Devon, according to the UK health emergency. So now that's tainted, but tainted also to me means somebody's tainting it. I don't feel like that was a nefarious act necessarily of anybody. I feel like that it just ended up in the water somehow because they're not properly filtering it or doing something with the water. I don't necessarily feel anything nefarious about that. Now, this one will make you never want to eat fish out of the Pacific Ocean again, especially if you live near Japan. Our friends in Japan. Japan's going to starts the 6th ocean discharge of Fukushima nuclear tainted wastewater despite people's opposition. Despite opposition from home and abroad, Japan has started the 6th round of ocean discharge of nuclear contaminated wash water from the crippled Fukushima plant, with about 7,800 gallons of wastewater being released through June 4th. Now, already, since they've been doing this years, and why do they wait 12 years? Why don't they just dig a big ditch somewhere in Japan and put it there? Why is it got to go in our oceans and pollute our oceans? That's just so extremely less than smart thing to do. Like, I don't get it. There's fish that we're washing ashore in California with tumors and cancerous tumors on them. It's not smart. What are friends in Japan? You need to do something. Like, this is crazy. Crazy. That's tainted waters for you right there, friends. And even in Iowa last week, I thought it was Idaho, my bad. Iowa, close. Had concerns around their water being tainted, this time with forever chemicals. That's something you're going to be hearing a lot. Waterloo idles drinking water well contaminated by forever chemicals. Recent tests in Waterloo, that's a good song. Waterloo. Anyway, I'm trying to think of who that was. I can't think of who it is. Someone will tell us because they're like a European band. Can't think of them. Anyway, in Waterloo, drinking water revealed one of the city's wells has detectable amounts of PFAS, a toxic group of chemicals that are newly regulated by federal officials. The city decided to stop drawing water from that well, even though, and that's something I learned here in Sedona. Sedona gets their water from several places. They get some of it from the river, and they get some of it from their own wells, which is an aquifer. We're under one of the biggest aquifers in the country, actually. That's some good water. But they still put chlorine in it. Even in our neighborhood, it's just so not smart. But what have you. I don't drink that water anyway. So, yeah, that's happening there in Iowa. There was another one. I think it was Chicago. I don't have the article here, but there was lead in their water. Water is life, friends, and without water, we have absolutely no life. And with tainted, unhealthy waters, we grow very unhealthy civilization with the shortening lifespan of humans. Water is going to become another huge highlight this summer in places like India, China, and the Middle East. They will witness waters suddenly drying up, dam failures. Oh, damn. Dam failures in several countries, and of course, more dams cracking open from weather and earthquakes. I see one dam as being toxic. It was really interesting to me in this vision. I felt like the dam was holding back toxic. And then the dam breaks and all those toxins go. I don't know where. It was just really weird. It's kind of weird. I got that this morning, actually. More concerns are going to arise around the Euphrates River. Concerns of loss of water and concerns over the country. One country hogging up all the waters to themselves. That's going to be Turkey, of course. Leaving others left in the sand, Spirit said. Their dry waters are going to be hogging up the waters and leaving everybody else in the sand. Spirit does have senses of humor. This is going to bring about my prediction of a big water conflict, like an actual conflict between two countries by 2026 and 2027. I have no doubt that Turkey is a part of it. Might even be Turkey versus Iraq. I also sadly see several issues with waters being hit under cyber attacks. One quite successful in the damage and agenda. I don't know what that means. I'm just telling you what Spirit told me. One quite successful in the damage it does in the agenda that they push. I have a strong feeling in which Spirit confirms that the psychopaths have actually hired their own team of cyber attacker hackers. So they have their own team, Spirit showed me today, which they probably did, but when I never thought of it. Maybe you have. But Spirit pointed that out today to let you know they got their own team of hackers. So when they tell you someone's doing something, don't always believe it's someone else. On the subject of hacks and attacks, both, I see something happening with two separate sporting events coming up this season. One is related to a cyber attack at a sporting event. It reminded me of what happened. I predicted this too, that there'd be a big attack in Las Vegas, and they had that cyber attack last year. It reminded me of that. Cyber attack like Vegas, but at a major big sporting event, which would really like cause a bit of, uncomfortable situation. One is related to a cyber attack at a sporting event. The other is a literal attack, like a physical literal attack. And I saw things going boom, boom simultaneously. Some were a second behind the other, but it was like boom. Two of them went at the same time. Another one went. Just all these simultaneous booms. I clearly saw this too, by the way, friends. I saw explosive devices being put in trash cans outside of a stadium. I think I'm somewhere in South America. Let's hold in the light that don't come true. I also warned the people of Mexico, because it could also be there, but our friends in Mexico need to be very mindful around their football soccer events. I see some type of a pow-pow event in Mexico forcing people to stay inside. So, also Mexico, I feel like there's an all-out conflict erupting in Mexico. I know there's something like that happening now, but I mean like big time where people are forced to stay inside. Let's look up in the sky. Because now we move on to the sky. I wanted to just show you these couple pictures that I took of the moon. I thought they were really interesting, and you might be asking the same question that I asked. So I'll show you this first one because I took this through a set of binoculars I just purchased. So that's hence the big circle. And then I zoomed in on it a little bit more, and these two pictures here. And I'm just wondering, I thought they turned out really amazing. I mean, that picture is just, to me, is a beautiful picture of the moon. Turned out really nice. My question is, where are the H's of the rest of the moon? Friends, where are the H's of the rest of the moon? This was during the day. Let me add that. This is during the day. This was like either late morning, early afternoon. I think it was a late morning. I'll have to look at the timestamp on that. I'm pretty sure it was late in the morning. At most afternoon, mid-afternoon at the latest. And I noticed it, and it looked weird to me. So I took these pictures, and I was like, why does the moon look so weird? And then I went and got these new binoculars I bought, and I tried out the camera that you can attach. And I did this, and I was like, wow, that looks really strange. And look at this one. When you zoom in, it's got like that little ripple blue light around it. It's really weird. And I just asked, where's the rest of the moon? It's daytime. I should still be able to see an outline of the moon. Normally, I could see the whole moon, even if it's not a full moon, even if it's just half moon, whatever. During the day, I can always see the whole moon. I don't see no whole moon there, friends. I just thought I'd share some good pictures with you. Now, this is where it gets really, really little interesting and creepy. This was caught in the skies over California. And this, I got to take out the audio because the people watching are cursing a lot. I get it. I mean, if I was outside watching this, I'd be saying the same things that they were saying, but I'm not going to play it on the channel because it's, bad language. Friends, what the H is that? Now look at the one to the right, the dot in the right, the white light, and watch it spiral in a second. Look at that. Sending off pulses. Doesn't that look exactly like your Wi-Fi signal? What the heck? And again, I did take out the audio because the people were cursing as they're looking up, and there's a bunch of people there, so this video is definitely real. It's not fake, as some may believe. It's very, very real. It's very, very, very strange, and I want to know what you think in the comments down below, friends. Thank you for smashing that love button. Let's move on to a few other predictions I have for you. I see controversy that's arising within the EU. And I have a strong feeling and the potential that more states will soon be leaving the EU. May not all be in 2024, but definitely as we move into 2025, lots of EU controversy. Yellowstone National Park has been poking me like it was trying to wake me up from a daze. That was last night. I took this literal for Yellowstone itself because that's how it felt. It felt like I was being poked out of a daze. Like, wake up, you're drifting off. So I took it as literal. Meaning that currently in some, that Yellowstone is currently in some type of a daze, and it's about to be poked. That's how I took it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's pretty correct, actually. Meaning what exactly? Well, that means that some activity, Earth activity, and even tectonic activity is going to be occurring at Yellowstone. No, it's not going to blow the big volcano. Don't worry about it. And even if it did, we wouldn't be around to talk about it afterwards anyway. That's not happening. But it is waking up. Yellowstone's waking up, Spirit says, and reminds me of a vision I had a while back. I didn't know where when I had this vision, but now I think I know where. Remember I had this vision and I saw the earth cracking like an earthquake, but I saw hot magma in the cracks seeping up on flat ground, not from a volcano? Remember that vision? Well, that reminded me of this today. So I'm thinking that vision is taking place somewhere in Yellowstone National Park, where there's going to be an earthquake that causes some cracks in magma to come to the surface, bubbling up. I believe that this will be happening in a few places, not just Yellowstone, where the ground opens up and we see this bubbling hot magma beneath it. At the same time, I feel like, again, that there's going to be shutdowns of the Yellowstone National Park due to weather situations, and due to this situation, the whole park may be blessed. Now, I'm getting this now, and I said this in the past, but Spirit's showing me now. I saw visions of fires being started from hot magma coming out of the cracks of the earth. And I believe that's what happened with some of the fires last year, or at least one of the fires, especially up near Canada. I feel like that's related, but they're just, for some reason, not telling us. Now, that's going to be sadly the case for Yellowstone. If this happens at Yellowstone, it's going to ignite some type of big fires around Yellowstone. Not only that, I'm in Yellowstone now in my vision, walking through, and there's a lot of smoke, Spirit shows me. So aside from all that, definitely fires happening around Yellowstone, which will also cause parts of the park to be closed off, and would have unhealthy air. I mentioned the Pope and even the Vatican many times. You see the Vatican just released those papers. I was going to do a video on it. Maybe we'll talk about it in our group chat on Thursday. My Q&A. I'm doing a Q&A live. Do not ask any questions in the comments. I already have way too many to keep up with. And thank those who left them. I won't be able to answer all of them, but I'll definitely answer a majority on Thursday evening, 5 p.m. So the Pope came to mind in the past, and even told y'all that I believe that the Pope will exit by January of next year. So last night, the Pope came to my mind, and so did two different periods that he came to my mind. I see Pope Francis having more health-related complications in the month of August, along with controversy, truth coming out from the Vatican. So that's like two separate things all together in one. Also in August, something huge around the same two things, the Pope and the Vatican, comes. And then right before Christmas, Spirit says the same two, the Pope and the Vatican, comes right before Christmas celebrations, controversy, truth, and right before the Pope's birthday, which is December 17th, putting him in his one personal year. Lisa Marie Presley passed in her 1 year. It's potentially, even though the one's all about new beginnings, new starts, new creations, you know, sometimes we hold on longer than we should and don't want to let go. We're stubborn. Our egos get in the way and we hang on. Sometimes we make it to the one. If not, and if he didn't make it, if he made it past the one, then I wouldn't imagine he wouldn't go anywhere until, well, you're in 2027 when he's in his 4. But it's coming before that. And on the same subject, but not, yes, but no, on the same subject. The land, Rome, Italy. I see something huge being uncovered in Rome, Italy. Part of this, of course, is an archaeological discovery containing truth that's going to put some of our history into place if they don't try to hide it first, but they won't succeed. Also, I see other major truths being uncovered, including a huge breakthrough out of Rome, Italy, around those caught up in traffic, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. So it's probably going to be a little late today, but better late than never, friends. Better late than never. Remember to please show your love and hit that thumbs up button. A lot of time and energy goes into this. A huge, gigantic thank you to all my supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Remember, hopefully tomorrow I'll have my short video. It's not long, maybe 15-minute long video on the special children that are coming to save the world. Something you're going to want to hear about. Thursday, live Q&A, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Please, again, don't leave any questions down below because I'm not going to be able to get to them. So you're just wasting the time. Save them for next month's Q&A. Other than that, friends, remember, celebrate life and celebrate you. Be kind to others as you wish others be kind to you. And most importantly, be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Because you deserve it. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you in the future. I see it in my crystal ball. Much love, friends. Much love. Namaste. Don't go. Namaste.